served by provision for services and economic activity over the long term. We need a water management plan for the next 10, 20, and maybe 40 years. People who look forward long term can also look backward long term. Anyone who was here in 1910 could tell you that this entire hillside above us was stripped and burnt and that no replanting was done. Yet today we have some of the best second growth forests in Canada. Surely with a land base this good, some long-term thinking can nurture our present resource, our drinking water, and our forest-based economy. The concern over practices on provincial forests is only a part of this thinking. If environmental concerns are overriding to the community, private landowners also need to be controlled over their logging and development activities. Maybe private land adjacent to provincial forest should be zoned as forest land and practices in that zone regulated by local bylaws. It has been my experience that practices on private land are far more destructive and much more loosely regulated than those in provincial forests. Parts of private land that are crucial to water quality need to be identified. They need to be protected through zoning bylaws, and they need to be watched. The Forest Act now contains provision that allows the Forest Service to require logging plans for private lands at the request of a local government. Fleet would be happy to work with community to help establish this. We need local dialogue, local involvement, and local expertise. The goodwill, understanding, and dialogue that are necessary for the community to recover from the slide we had in 1983 is obviously not being provided. The fact that many of the practices that contributed to the 1983 slide are now obsolete is not known in this community. The fact that our firm harvested a timber sale just south of the slide area and spent $20,000 hand cleaning creeks and putting roads to bed and ensuring that no bad things would happen downstream is also not known. These activities were at the initiative of the Ministry of Forest as a response to their concern over the 1983 slide. And that when we took on that small business sale of what we call the Crest Sale, Ken Matthews pointed out, if you do it, this is how we got to do it. We're not going to have a repeat of what happened. We want the Ministry of Forest and all the firms who operate here to let the community know that they are concerned about these issues. The perception that people in the industry do not care is the biggest problem. We are proud of the fact that our people do care. We are also proud to represent firms such as Canfor, M&B, and Interfor, who have local presence of dedicated professionals who do care. One of the reasons I'm glad to see you all here tonight is that for the first time, we'll all see that the community cares as well. We also feel it's important that dialogue such as this continue. These communities should take full advantage of the local body of knowledge, which includes retired foresters and local industry personnel, local consultants, local government agencies. Imported expertise cannot solve our problems, nor can it be answerable if it fails. We want to make sure that community forestry does not mean. It does not mean a mandatory return to an 80-year-old harvesting technology. It does not mean hobby loggers who do not produce at competitive prices and are subsidized by reduced stumpage revenues. It does not mean cutthroat bidding on harvesting and service contracts where corners have to be cut to make a profit. It does not mean conflict of interest where everyone's brother-in-law has a gravel truck or a power saw, and whatever you do in a small community, there's bound to be some forum. It does not mean paralysis by bureaucracy and management by unqualified. It does not mean imported experts making recommendations which disrupt 100 years of local forest use. It does not mean total rejection of the major companies, especially not those with a local presence and a responsible attitude. But we want to make sure that it does mean. It means some stumpage revenues to local government, state-of-the-art harvesting technology, sustainable practices and employment, rewards and recognition for good practices and punishment for bad ones, community dialogue, community understanding and tolerance for inconvenience. Not everyone can or will like everything that goes on in the forest. The BC Forest Resources Commission is expected to make some recommendations shortly regarding the implementation of community forest tenures. We feel that the idea of community woodlot license has some potential. However, there has to be a way to award these licenses without political influence. At the local level, this may not be possible. Finally, I would like to leave you with this thought. Profits are not a dirty word. The Soviet Union has shown us what can happen to the environment when profits are not obtainable. I'm not trying to say that the lust for profits has not caused past bad practices, but the profit motive can also provide an incentive for forest action, positive action. Policy and administration of our public forests must make it possible for good operators to be profitable and mandatory for bad operators to be very unprofitable. The present system of selling timber to the highest bidder with little monitoring and enforcement has the exact opposite effect. Profits and profit potential have made it possible for the Sunshine Coast to be home for some state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities. I can tell you that right now our rebuilt pulp mill is the envy of the entire industry. This area has the potential for a world-class forest industry based on both small and large enterprises and the community working together. The industry needs incentives, reasons to improve